Started as a grant-funded organization, knowing that our fiscal agent was not going to continue us, so we began the process a long time ago before we ever got DFC.
We started about 3 years out by keeping kind of a pulse on all of our funding streams, not just our drug-free community. So we made sure our local funding was going to be sound, city, county, United Way, what was the pulse of what was going on with their funding in the next few years.
We started preparing at about year 6 when we knew that the funding was going to be ending. And actually we tried to recruit and to engage more membership and corporate support and individual and business support from our local communities. Also looking for grant opportunities. But we're a small grassroots community-wide coalition, so we really focused our energies on those corporations that have their home base in our city.
We worked with grassroots groups throughout our county, and the factor that we were able to really mobilize grassroots, that has really helped us to survive.
And the whole goal of Drug Free is to partner with all kinds of different sectors in your community, but we've tried to even be more unique about who we align ourselves with, who we spend time with in their camps as well as our own coalition. And so I would say the unique partnerships and literally the relationships you develop over the 10 years are huge, because we have a little different face on ours. It's not just staff that you see representing our coalition. It's very definitely different faces in our community, and so that kept us going long after the funding.
I think our strong board support, we have some really strong leaders in the community who have been part of the coalition for many years, a drug court judge and our chief of police and other important school district personnel and superintendent. And I think those key leaders that are part of the community have contributed to our survival. Well, I think our capacity has decreased just because we don't have the extra money coming in. So we've had to really take a look at what programs we want to sustain and what ones we want to have continue, but maybe have someone else put them on. I think our overall capacity for the coalition has been affected because the $100,000 is no longer there.
We got much more away from staff run and much more volunteer run. And so people in their different, we call them quarterbacks because we're using a football theme with our coalition, offensive and defensive plays, and each one has a quarterback. And so they've gotten creative about where are they finding funding for their particular play. And staff isn't in those different plays, and so instead of turning to us saying, well, you have the dollars, they're out finding their own funding streams. And that's been huge for us to have multiple things going on, not staff driven, but rather coalition member driven.
In our county, and the way our state runs, it's a single county authority. And they get the monies from the state and the county that are specific to substance abuse. So it would be treatment, intervention, and prevention. And it was very key for us, and again, I still go back to the first 5 years, and we're talking about almost 19 years ago. The fact that we needed to gain support from that single county authority and have them understand why they should give us some of their prevention dollars even though they were doing prevention. So we worked on that from the very beginning. So we've always had a small base of funding.
We try to do the 4 ask, earn, charge, and share. So we've trained some of our staff, for example, to do trainings, and then we have a fee for service that we charge for tips training, for example, or for the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Teens. Those are 2 of the training areas that we go out in the community and other communities and train for those and charge. And then we use as many in-kind supports as we can. And then we have 1 big fundraiser a year. We're not really big on having lots of small fundraisers, but we have a dedicated group of people who for 15 years have been interested in putting on our 1 big fundraiser. I think our founding board did that by setting up a really strong set of bylaws. And we review all of our practices and policies every few years. We have an external evaluator that helps us by looking at us critically. Sometimes you get too close to the situation and you don't always take a look at what you're doing that maybe you could do better. So we've really built bench strength, I think, in our staff who are cross-trained. And in board members, we have orientation and we have handbooks for them, and we really help them understand their role.
Start early, and a lot of times, and people I've talked to in other coalitions, the staff takes it all upon themselves, that they have to figure out how to sustain this, they have to do it all. We've had really good luck utilizing think tanks, like bring in successful people in your community and say, if you had to figure out how to fund this, help us understand how your business has worked, how you've been successful. And so we pass it off and do think tanks with a lot of other people to help us figure it out rather than taking it all upon ourselves. And that's worked really well for us.
When at all possible, don't rely on the Drug-Free Community Grant as your only funding source. I think that is a pitfall that many coalitions could fall into. And now that you've gotten the grant, sometimes your community sits back and says, oh, now you have staff to pay for this. And I think the challenge is that, yes, we now have the grant, but it's still the community that does the work, and we still need them at the table. And that the Drug-Free Community Grant is great seed money, and it's a wonderful asset to have for your community, but it shouldn't be your only funding source. And you have to look beyond that grant. Even, it's going to expire eventually, but you need to build the capacity of your organization, not just financially, but in resources that are people resources too.
You need to plan beyond. You need to keep your eyes and ears open. You need to figure out how to maximize the resources that come to your community. And you need to perhaps broaden your perspective if necessary, so that it will open up opportunities for funding for you, but also open up opportunities for more support from the community.